Welcome to the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network.
And hello again, I'm John Jeffers here on the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network. I am going to do a quick episode. We don't do too many videos, but I found this great new little program, so I may start doing it again. But not all the time, because I realize some of you listen to it, the podcast, as you're driving, and I really don't want you to be driving and watching. But you could drive and listen, though. But that's okay. All right, anyways. Yesterday's episode was almost an hour long. Done by request for Brandon. I hope it gave him the information he was looking for. If you haven't listened to it, you need to listen to it. It concerns you as a patriot, and as an American, except for the left. We don't care about them. Anyways, I found this little thing, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was important. And basically what we're talking about is urban survival site. They had this great little thing here. It's called 7 Problems That Every Prepper Must Overcome. And it is true. There are 7 problems. And I want to share it with you because I think it's important that we get this out. You know, preppers have problems. Oftentimes, they can't see the forest for the trees. And I found that by prepping is like a vast river of opportunity. A river that ebbs and flows based on the situations around us. When the world events are spiraling out of control, we feel inspired to get prepping. When the world feels stable, well, we slack off. And we know that's true. So the same journey along the river prepper is studded with exciting tributaries. Some examples of tributaries are things like blacksmithing, knitting, we all need, tactical training, gardening, and natural healing. These are things that take your prepping to another level and push you toward the ultimate goal of self-sufficiency. Now, the journey can often feel like a very lonely one, at least until you find yourself a good friend, a community, or a spouse that is all in. That said, I'd like to remind you that there are a few million preppers who are suffering through rough patches. They're lonely, tired, or uninspired. Maybe you're one of them. So let's explore 7 universal problems that all preppers face. And number 1 is fear of the future. One bit of neuroses that all preppers share is a fear of what is to come. You know, I've often said on past episodes that as preppers, we live in a nightmare world. We may not be consciously thinking about the end, but in the back of our minds, we're thinking, what if? What if this spirals out of control? What if this happens? What do I do? Where do I go? What do I need? And to some extent, we're doing it all the time. We don't even realize it because we've been doing this for a while. So it's the very reason we do what we do. The problem is that many people allow their fear to take control. They spend too much time reading scary news stories and become so afraid of the future that they become paralyzed, like a mouse too frightened to run from a snake or a cat. You have to learn how to manage that fear of the future. You can use that fear as fuel to get things done, but if you feed it too much, it will overtake you. If you're an anxious person, then you should probably avoid the news altogether, or at least cut back to weekends only. Otherwise, you're liable to waste time worrying about and making costly mistakes. Number 2 is feeling unprepared, and we all do it. In fact, we do it now. I'm thinking about it. Am I prepared enough? And always the answer is no. And I know the answer is the same for you, because we can never be fully prepared because we don't always know what to prepare for other than the grid going down, a critical event, different scenarios play out. That's why a couple episodes ago I said we need to prep for what is most likely to occur. Polar shift is not likely to occur. It just isn't. Could it happen? Yeah. But is it most likely to occur? No. And I'll tell you what. I will give you Vegas odds that it doesn't happen. That's how sure I am of it, all right? If it does happen, what are you going to do anyways? All right, number 2. So we're feeling unprepared. The dirty secret about preparedness is that it's impossible. Yes, I said impossible. You can get to a point where you feel confident in your preps, but there will always be ways you could be more prepared. You might feel ready for anything, then one day you realize there's a particular scenario you're not prepared for. And that's why, unless you're independently wealthy, you can't prepare for every scenario. You can't. Like I said, unless, of course, you're independently wealthy, in which case you've got a whole set of other issues, priorities, and things you can do. Now, this sense that you're not really prepared causes some people to give up. What a waste. Would you stop jogging every week just because you're not ready to do a marathon? Of course not. You don't do that. If you feel this way, stop and look back at how much you've accomplished. When you add it all up, you realize you've learned and stockpiled more than you realize. And odds are, it is enough to get you through the most common disaster scenarios, which is what I was talking about a couple episodes ago. Number 3, self-doubt, and we all have it. If you don't have self-doubt, then you have a mania, and I want what you're smoking. There may be no group more prone to extreme levels of self-doubt than preppers. As heads of household, we occasionally call into question our ability to protect our loved ones in times of crisis. This is only natural. If you've never been in a truly life-threatening situation, how do you know you'll be able to handle one? Well, you don't. But I'll tell you this. You're bound to handle a lot better than someone who hasn't bothered prepping. If you have an emergency plan, plenty of supplies, and a bug-out route, and if you've practiced evacuating quickly, spent time living with electricity, and know how to use your gear, you're going to handle it about 100 times better than if you hadn't prepared at all. Bear in mind, only about 3% of the American population are preppers. The rest are going to hang their hat on FEMA. God love them. And I feel sorry for FEMA. FEMA, in my opinion, has the most, what's what I say? They've been tasked with prepping for the United States. Everybody in the United States. It's a goal that I don't think they could ever accomplish. I don't think they can. They can try. I mean, when you see them move into regions who have been hit, and we've seen them all on TV, they're getting better at it. Maybe not as good as they could, but they're getting better. And in my opinion, most people learn by doing. There are some people in our society who can actually learn by reading. Oh, I get it. Okay. Some of us can do that. Most of us cannot. But that's a different story. So keep that in mind the next time you're feeling about self-doubt. Think about how much you've accomplished so far. Let's talk about seclusion and secrecy. Unfortunately, there is still a bit of a stigma attached to prepping. When people find out you're a prepper, they say stupid things like, "Are you one of those doomsday preppers?" Or, "I'll just come to your house if a disaster happens." I've done a couple episodes on, no, you're not coming to my house, and if you do, you'll be greeted in an unfriendly manner, and it won't be welcoming. If someone finds out you're a prepper, chances are they will talk, and pretty soon people will look at you differently, and in some cases, you could miss out on a promotion or even lose your job because people think you're a crazy survivalist. You're a crazy survivalist. Yeah, you see my tin hat? Yeah, okay. The more likely problem, however, is that they'll come straight to your house if the shit hits the fan. If that happens, you'll be forced to turn lots of people away. People you know, people who are begging. It's not going to be easy to do. We've talked about this many times on this show, which is why it's better that they don't know about your preps in the first place. And my response is, how are you supposed to get a group together if you don't talk about prepping? You can't have it both ways. Now, seclusion and secrecy can be lonely, but perhaps it may be for the best. And let me see something here. We'll come back to that. Jealousy of others. When you see the guy with $1 million bunker that is equipped with running water, air filters, multiple exit doors, and all sorts of other things, it's hard not to get jealous. There will always be someone out there who has more than you. Accept it. It's like, for example, it's like when you're shooting, okay? You got proper grip. You know that you got it. You got your proper grip. You're lining up your sights. Da 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 da. And then you have that little wobble. That little wobble. Everybody has it. Accept it. Same thing here. Just accept it and keep going. All right? Now, the difference in prepping is it can mean life or death. It's how you protect your family, and your shortcomings could have massive implications. When I start to feel jealous of a prepper who has more than me, I just keep in mind the more preppers there are, and the more prepared they are, the better our society will be at weathering the crisis. Imagine if you were the only prepper in the world and a major disaster happened. It might take decades for things to get back to normal. But when there's lots of preppers, especially those with more supplies than you, society will bounce back faster. Seeing a prepper with more than you is a good thing, unless it's only because you've barely done any prepping at all. And you know how I feel about the prepper who shows up during the exercise and says, I got my bag of rice and bag of beans. My response is, get out. Get out. Another word, just get out. You've had time. This is what you've got to show for it. Get out. All right. Number 6, not having enough money. Some people have more disposable income than others. In my experience, broadcasting, working with preppers, it would seem that most preppers are paying their bills first and using whatever pennies are left for prepping. That is the harsh reality of prepping. It gets what little money is left over. Fortunately, most survival skills don't cost any money to learn, and if you're frugal, you can find great deals on supplies or upcycle garbage into survival gear. Okay? Number 7, let's talk about being misunderstood. And this is so true. One of the biggest struggles we face as preppers is dealing with a spouse or children that aren't on board. Families can be harsh on preppers, and that is a tough hurdle to get over. And there's one that I'm thinking of right now, and I'm not going to say his name. And he did like 2 or 3 tip shows for us, and then he disappeared. Not a word, just disappeared. I see him on occasion, either on the Facebook or MeWe. It's unfortunate. He did a great job, but we knew his wife and her family were not on board, and I think that's the kind of pressure that he was really dealing with. Look, it's not easy being the person who's misunderstood inside your own home. Now, for this, I recommend finding a prepper community. Search Meetup or a similar site for a local group, or find a forum, and I hate this, a Facebook group. I hate Facebook because they sell all our personal data, and we don't get any money for it. They get all the money from all of us. So, anyways, that's another show. Anything that focuses on prepping and self-reliance. Having other people to talk to about these things is a huge psychological benefit that will keep you focused and motivated. So keep prepping. Don't stop. Now, where is it? No. Make this happen. Why isn't this working? I hate when this happens. I don't like it. Make it stop. Let's see if we can't reload it here, because this is what I think is very interesting. There we go. Now, what can you do if people find out you're a prepper? All right? You've been outed. Maybe they found you online. Maybe they saw you carrying supplies into your house. Maybe a close friend or family member spilled the beans. However it happened, the word is out, and everyone knows you're a prepper. Oh, by the way, everyone knows I'm a prepper. Everyone knows that Terry's a prepper. Everybody knows that Rob is a prepper. Oh, and good luck. For you people out there that think you're going to go to Rob's farm, good luck getting there. He lives 2 weeks from anywhere. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, he's got a great killing field. A great killing field. Believe me. Been there, saw it. Anyways, look, this shouldn't affect your day-to-day life too much. You might have to deal with a few ignorant people who think you're crazy, but that's about it. The problem will be when a major disaster happens and everyone and their brother comes, oh, can I come in? They show up at your door. You won't be able to stop everyone, which means you'll have to turn people away, possibly with a gun in your hand. So what should you do if the wrong people know you're a prepper? 1, refuse to talk about it. Just because they know you're a prepper doesn't mean you should start telling them about it. The less they know, the less they know, the better. With any luck, some of them might even forget. But if you keep talking about it, you'll make an impression, ended up being the first person they think about when the critical event happens. Number 2, play down your preps. If people ask about your preps, tell them you just have a few things stashed away for blackouts, hurricanes, heavy snow, etc. If they insist on knowing more, then just tell them there's not much to know and change the subject. You don't have to answer any questions you don't want to. You don't have to. Number 3, hide your supplies. Start hiding your food and survival supplies around your home and only leave out a week's worth of food. You could also bury survival catches or stored supplies at homes of people you trust. Then if people show up, even though you play down your preps, you can say, see, this is all I have. When they leave, then you get the rest of your supplies. Number 4, prepare to bug out. Even if you're going to be bugging in, prepare to bug out. We did a show on that about, was it 3 shows ago? Download it, listen to it. If you think people will flock to your house after disaster strikes, the best bet might be to bug out before they show up. If you haven't, start putting together a bug out bag and get ready to hit the road at a moment's notice. However, you don't want to bug out during a long-term disaster unless you have somewhere to go. And don't think, well, I'm just going to go to the country and I'll just live in a farmer's field, or I'll live in the forest, or I'll go to the top of the mountain and sing hallelujah. Guess what? Millions of other people will be doing and thinking the same thing. So, spend your weekends preparing a bug out location. Don't tell anyone about it. 5, turn your home into a fortress. Buy steel doors and reinforce them. If you can, install bulletproof windows or steel bars. Put a large fence and various obstacles around your home, etc. That is, if you can afford it. Also keep in mind that you and your family will need an incredible amount of mental toughness if you can hear hungry people outside begging for food. Now, here's the question. And the question was this. I talked to you earlier about one of the guys that used to do a tip show for us and disappeared because his wife and her family weren't into it, and they'd give him all kinds of smart-ass comments and everything else. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do if there's a critical event, the grid goes down, and they show up at your door? And you know what he said? He says, I'm going to have to let them in because they're my wife's family. I said, no, you don't. They chose to do the easy way because it's so much fun to poke fun at the prepper. It's so much fun, isn't it? It just makes me look and feel so clever until I'm freaking starving or I don't have any clean water. Number 6, prepare to fight. When people get hungry enough, they turn into animals. Even people you once considered friends might turn on you. If they get inside, despite your security measures, and it comes to an all-out fight, your chances of survival will drop dramatically. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Familiarize yourself with your weapon of choice and get plenty of ammo for it. Number 7, you can always move to another town. Now this is pretty extreme, and for many people it's not very realistic. But if a lot of people know about your preps, it might be the only real solution. Look for another place to live and start applying for jobs there. Another thing you can do is move to another part of town, but don't give anyone except people you trust your new address. That's it. Now let's, when people, say, well, I'm going to come to your house. No, you're not. But I've got kids. Oh, well, then I suggest you start prepping for that. Well, why can't I just come to your house? Because you haven't paid for them. You're just going to be a drag. What skills do you have that would justify me letting you into my house or to share my preps? What can you do? What do you have to offer? Well, I don't have anything. I just didn't want to, I don't want to spend money. I don't have money for that. Oh, but I do. You can see how it plays out. You know how it plays out. All right. I said to be a short episode, and I don't know, where am I? About 20 minutes. Okay, good enough. Again, keep prepping. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Prepper and Patriot friends out there. Be safe. Be alert. Be vigilant. Be prepared. Prepare today. Live tomorrow. I'm John Jeffries here at the Jeffries Brief, only on Contra Radio Network, saying thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good day.